Our next speaker, we have Priscilla, and she's running for Lieutenant Governor.
Good evening, Bonners Ferry. I'm Priscilla Giddings, and I want to be your next Lieutenant Governor. Many of you know me, but for those of you that don't, I grew up in a Christian family here in Idaho. I was the baby of 5. My mother was in education. She retired as the high school principal down in Riggins. My father was in law enforcement. He did 50 years, starting in Vietnam, and then he retired last year as the Idaho County Sheriff. When I was about 10, I had the opportunity to live in Israel, and I witnessed terrorism firsthand, and that's when I realized we have so many freedoms right here in America that we don't even realize we have. And that freedom is a thing worth fighting for. And so at that age, I realized I want to fight for freedom. We moved to Idaho Falls, and we ended up moving to Riggins. I went off to the Air Force Academy, then went off to pilot training, got to fly the mighty A-10 Warthog. It's a single-seat fighter aircraft that's built around a Gatling gun that shoots 30-millimeter rounds, 50 rounds a second. Through training, 8 months of training, I ended up winning Top Gun because my bombs and bullets were closer to the target than any of the other guys in my class. From there, first assignment overseas, I transitioned into the NC-12 with my dear friend and Lauren, who's running my campaign up here in North Idaho, over here in the corner. She's done more than 6,000 hours in Afghanistan. We watched our friends die for freedom over there, and I realized here we were fighting for freedom for the Afghanis, for them to have the rule of law, for them to have free and fair elections. In the meantime, we're losing those freedoms right here at home, and so I felt called to come home and to fight for freedom in our own backyard. So I jumped into the legislature. I ended up marrying the love of my life, a fourth-generation farmer from Bonners Ferry, and we have 2 little girls. And we've just, in the last 2 years, we have seen freedoms taken away from us so quickly that we're at this point now where my daughters no longer have the same opportunities that I had as a child based on their vaccination status and the color of their skin. And that's why I said it is time to start fighting for freedom right here. In the legislature, over my last 6 years of voting, I have stood for conservative principles. I have a 97% conservative voting record with the American Conservative Union. And as your next Lieutenant Governor, I am going to stand up for conservative principles no matter how much special interest money floods into this state. I have not received, we've had more than 2,000 Idahoans donate to our campaign to let freedom fly. Not $1 from a lobby group, unlike my opponent who's taking money from Pharma and Pfizer. We have got to stand up for principle. Also, I have seen, and as your next Lieutenant Governor, I can promise you that I'm going to continue to expose corruption. I've been doing it for the last few years. They don't like me, and I'm going to keep doing it because you need someone that stands up for you and for what is right and who's not going to cave when the money, the dollar starts talking. So. Be willing to speak truth to power. You know, we have a bunch of patriots just like you standing up across the state. The grassroots groundswell is huge, but we need your help to get over the finish line. We're down to 7 weeks until this May primary. We need your prayer. We need your help with contributions as well. $20, even from as many individuals as we can. Really. Over on the side, I have copies of my autobiography, how I got my fighter pilot call sign, flying the Warthog, and the fight for freedom that we're in. I'd be happy to sign copies of those for a contribution to my campaign. Also, if you go to my website, givingforidaho.com, we're doing an AR-15 gun giveaway, and tomorrow is the deadline. So you put in your email address, givingforidaho.com. We're going to draw the winner next. Got to fight for freedom. I love this state. I love this nation. And we are going to win it on May 17th. But if we don't, plant your gardens and keep buying ammo.
Next up, Representative Priscilla Giddings, running for Lieutenant Governor. In addition to presiding over the Idaho State Senate, what main additional contributions would you make and what goals would you strive to achieve on behalf of Idaho's citizens in your capacity as Lieutenant Governor?
Thank you. So there are two obligations of Lieutenant Governor that are in the Constitution. One, the presiding officer over the Senate. You only get to vote in the case of a tie, but you do have a policy bully pulpit for conservative ideas to push across the state. The other role that you have is to be the governor when the governor is either out of the state or not able to serve as the governor. So I would say number one goal on my list is to stay healthy because I'm one heartbeat away from the governorship. But I also think that there's room for leadership, to be an ambassador for our state, and to really have an influence on the executive branch. In Idaho, our Constitution allows 20 agencies, but they've spawned, and the governors in the past have created executive orders to create others, so we now have 220 state agencies, boards, and commissions that report directly to the governor. They're only beholden to the governor, and that's where we're seeing the bureaucracy creep, get out of control, because these agencies, boards, and commissions, they're no longer following the law because they don't have a boss who's enforcing the law. So even though in the role of Lieutenant Governor you don't have the top authority, I believe that there's some great opportunity for somewhat like an audit function. And in my experience in the military, having a new wing commander show up to our base overseas, and his first few weeks, he went to every unit and he said, hey, give me a briefing, what's working, what's not working, and how can we make things better? And I would like to do that as your next Lieutenant Governor. I'm going to start with 0800 in the Department of Health and Welfare, and we need to start digging through what's not working. Because when you have an out-of-control executive branch, you need to rein it in by educating the people so that you know what's going on. And I've done that through my newsletters, my favorite Reagan quote at the bottom, if you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. And as your Lieutenant Governor, I will make them feel the heat.